I got a question for both of you guys. I hear this from time to time, the red eyes, whether it's eye shine or eye reflecting. I remember back in the earlier expeditions, 2004, you saw some of that too, didn't you, Kathy? Like on the Redwoods one?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've seen the red eye glow several times. In fact, that was with Bart that one time. He saw that as well. It was something watching us from the bushes that was roughly, 7 foot tall. It was pretty creepy, and I've seen it in particularly more terrifying. There was something one time in Area X, I was down there, and something was standing on the other side of the car looking at me through the car window. And so I'm seeing it, the other side. I'm looking through the passenger, it's looking through the driver, and those were the biggest red eyes I've ever seen in my entire life. And then we clearly heard that I startled it, and it ran off on 2 legs away from me. But it's the biggest eyes I've ever seen in my life.
It was looking into the car while you were in it?
No, we were by a little fire trying to get warm. And I had gotten up to basically go to the bathroom. And as I walked past the car, I looked through. We had been hearing noises already. We knew that something was in the area. And so I was just walking by and happened to turn my head to look through the car to the other side. And it was there standing by the car. And I startled it. I don't know why it didn't know I had gotten up to move. And so it was looking right at me, and I just saw the red eyes clearly looking at us. It had been spying on us. It was trying to creep as closely to us as
it was kneeling down below the door with his head just above the window. So
it was bending down to look through.
That's just creepy.
Yeah, these are 4-wheel drive trucks. You can't get there by car. They were 4-wheel drive trucks.
Yeah, so they're pretty big.
So it was a pretty good distance off the ground. But yeah, that's what it was doing. And there are multiple reports from Area X of them doing that same thing. Using our trucks as a way to get in closer.
Using them as a shield.
Yeah, as a shield. Yeah,
essentially. And so, so it's really weird because a lot of things I would poo-poo, like I would go, oh, they can't do that. Oh, they don't have that. Area X completely changed my mind about all that, because everything I have, except for cloaking, of course, Bigfoot cannot cloak.
Nope.
If that, he does not go through portals. But, the tree knocking, the rock throwing, being incredibly fast, at least in small bursts, the glowing red eyes. Now, what causes that, I can't tell you. We had a fire. It could have easily been a reflection from that, but yeah, it was pretty horrifying.
Yeah, that's one of the questions. That's one of the questions I try to think about is what causes that. The red eye shine people talk about, like a lot of other animals, there's yellow or it's green, but red.
Well, and I don't have an answer for that, in the sense of I've had a sighting, I've seen them. Their eyes are clearly not unusual. And so what causes that?
Yeah,
I don't know. It could be evolutionary adaptation for an animal that's more inclined to walk around in the dark. I mean, obviously possums have that kind of eye shine. I know raccoons do as well. So it could be something that's been adapted to for because that's what our bodies do. I mean, what makes you more successful as an animal is the ability to change to be more successful in an environment. And so, and what's weird is our sightings were in the daylight. So they're obviously comfortable in daylight and nighttime, but maybe there's more activity in the nighttime. I don't know that we've ever quantified that for our study, have we?
Well, I mean, we do have a database, an internal database that's not public, that we can quantify all the different encounters by type and by everything, by time, weather, phase of the moon, everything. We have some very brilliant people in this group. the majority of them are, college graduate professionals that are in all various types of professions, everything, multiple field, wildlife biologists, PhDs. We have many people in law enforcement, game wardens, people in who are engineers, who are in IT, and me, I'm a retired firefighter paramedic, but I have a great deal of experience in the outdoors, and we have a lot of very varied. We even have people working in zoos currently.
With primates.
Yeah, with primates. And so we bounce things around in our own discussion group, and they're able to so to answer your question, we can do a search and come up with how many similar type instances there are, and in just about any query that you want to put into it, we can pull out of it.
Yeah, and so there's quite a few people who've seen this red eye glow in X, and so it's not just an isolated phenomenon. And of course, having seen it in California and Oklahoma, it to me is a species adaptation. It's not an isolated environmental representative characteristic.
I kind of wonder if it's an emotional response.
They always say, I've had enough experience at this point where sometimes they stink, sometimes they don't. And people have hypothesized that maybe they can release a scent when they want to, like a skunk. And that would seem unusual in that sense, because, it's not, what are they, skunks spray as a defensive mechanism. And obviously to me, a Bigfoot is an apex predator. So why would they develop that in order to ward something off? And so that would, in some of these questions, you can always, throw out questions and nobody ever have any answers to, but that's why we need a specimen so that we can look to see if it's got a gland that sprays a stinky smell, or look at their eyes and see what they're capable of. That's one of the things we need to know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I need one for science and one for experiments, I guess. See how it reacts.
Well, for experiments, you probably have to have a live one. And I don't think that is ever going to happen.
Nope.
No,
Yeah,
we're not really into that either, and and Robert, we have lots of naysayers. For every one person who would like to support us, there are 10 who would like to shoot us down and just like that's a bunch of crap. That would never happen. Oh, they're imagining that. That's a bunch of drunk hillbillies. Or that's just nuts falling out of a tree. That ain't a rock. Well, Kathy and I have spent actually time there, just the two of us alone, for weeks at a time. Well, not at one time, but multiple times for a week at a time. And this one afternoon, I was usually in the dead of the afternoon. There's not really a lot going on. As the sun starts to get low, that's when things will start to happen in the afternoon. Of course, happens in the morning as well and all night long. But I was just doing a little maintenance, a little cleanup around the area. And here we hear something coming through the leaves and through the canopy coming through. And we look up, and I look up, and here's this rock, and it's coming down through the canopy. And it's a pretty good sized rock. It was bigger than a golf ball, shaped like a loaf of bread. And it came, and I watched it. And I used to play baseball, so I knew it was going to fall just a little bit short of me. So I didn't move, and it hit the edge of the corner of the roof, the metal roof of the cabin, and went bam, and then bounced and fell right between my feet.
Oh man.
So, yeah.
Yeah, we collected it. I mean, we went, I said, we're saving this one because if it had hit him in the head, it would have killed him. But
wow.
it was, and we both saw it. So there's no way anybody can say, you know, and it was a hell of a throw too, because what the arc had, whoever threw it had to be up on the hillside somewhere. But yeah, we still have it because I take it. I think I took it to the 2018 conference.
Yeah, to the
And-
conference there. We gave a
Thompson.
presentation there in Eureka.
Yeah.
Was
Right.
that for
So-
that for the
I
50th?
was there for that.
Yeah, for the 50th.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you guys. I was gonna ask you guys played audio from like when those rocks were hitting cabins there.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
I was
right.
like, I was listening to that. I was like, oh my god, that's amazing.
Yeah, and one time I was there, I just gave up on, because I'm usually the person who writes down everything. So you always write down, there's today's date, who's present, what's the weather like, what time is it, and then you write down what's going on, what happened. And I think I'm on the team that had the most rock throws of any team that's ever had them. It was so much that we finally gave up. We just said we just can't keep writing rock throw. 1:00 in the morning, rock throw, because it was happening so frequent. It was getting exhausting, and plus it was getting to be, where you just get jaded. And I remember several times I yelled up at the hillside, "Knock it off! We're trying to sleep here."
You're gonna have like a Bible's worth of rock throw material that different dates
Yeah.
and times.
Yeah.
And we do.
Yeah, we do. Into the thousands. It's got to be
Yeah.
into the thousands by now.
Yeah, and it's not that we didn't verify that too. So the next morning, people would go up on the roof and retrieve the rocks off of it. So it's not like, we just, we knew it wasn't acorns because we found the rocks.
Yeah.
Did you guys do tests where you would go up on the roof or the ridge and try and throw rocks down to the same area and see if it was?
Oh yeah, never even got close. And I played baseball when I was in elementary and junior high, and some into high school. But I do throw like a girl. But no, the vegetation would never ever. It wouldn't go anywhere at all. And some of these were just so so precise on their throwing. It was quite amazing because a few of us have been hit. That's for sure. There's several of us that actually have been hit by a rock, but most of the time, one time in particular, it was nighttime, and I'm giving support to the guys. They knew something was on the hill, and they're trying to push whatever it is back towards down to us. And I heard something coming through the tree line, and I moved just in time where the rock hit the side of the cabin. And it would have hit me if I had not moved, but I could tell from the sound that it was coming in hot and fast. And so I always felt that was an attempt to wound me so that the guys would come back then and focus on me, because, it was too close for comfort. And I picked up that rock too, because I saw it once it hit the side of the cabin. I turned my flashlight onto the rock and I could see it still tinging down on the ground. So
You said something that made me want to ask you a question, because I want to get your guys' opinion on this. You've obviously been to Louse Camp, I'm assuming, right? In Bluff Creek.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so as you're driving, there's that rock slide where you're below the old road, right
Mhm.
before the Jerry Crew Bridge area. At that rock slide, we were stopped there. This was this past summer. It was me, myself. It was my. That's
Me, myself, and I.
Me,
That's
myself.
Three of you, huh?
Three right there. Yeah.
it was myself and two other people, and we get out because my friend's car had really bad tires. It was the rock slide was pretty bad, so we were moving some rocks, throwing them down into Notice Creek below us, and as we're tossing rocks, trying to move the rocks so his tires don't get flat, something on the hill, my friend's like, "Hey, did you hear that?" We're like, "No." And we toss another rock down the hill. Then all of a sudden, these rocks start falling down. And we run one way, and my other friend runs the other way. And as we're looking up on the hill, we hear something down the creek walking away. Now, we don't know exactly what it was, but we kind of felt it was coordinated.
Mhm.
Like it didn't seem like accidental for any other animals to be doing that. I just wanted to get your guys' opinion and see what you thought about that.
Yeah, that's a common tactic of theirs. Is it's would you put that? It's the wounded rabbit scenario. I'm a wounded rabbit over here, so the real true wounded rabbit can get away.
A diversion.
We've seen
Wow.
that tactic many, many, many times.
Yeah, that was the first time it's happened to me. I was like, oh my God, this is there. We were hearing it walking and okay, we could hear it. It was like stepping away as something was up on the top. That was
Yeah.
the thing was crazy is we went up there during the day and if you look down, you can see cars coming in for at least a mile from that vantage point, especially at night.
Oh
So,
yeah.
It's
There's a lot of people who have suggested that maybe that's what you see in the Patty film is something's trapped. So you use an obvious distraction to pull Roger and Bob away from the location. So whatever is really the important thing there has an opportunity to get away. And, we've seen that tactic enough now that I think that is a possibility that there may have been a younger one or something there, and she was willing to go, okay, follow me, guys. Hey, that's why she's looking back and going, hey, you're not following me. Come this way. And
Wow.
so, yeah, we've had that happen to us definitely several times. And in fact, that's essentially what was happening when we had my first sighting there in X, is that they were trying to make us run around, but then with the extent of trying to let two younger ones maybe get away. And so, and we've had a bunch of those that week.
Yeah.
The one we got, Brian Brown, we got one kind of sort of trapped on a ledge, and then it went really bad really fast. So
Yeah.
it definitely worked for us. It got our attention.
yeah, it will. That's what it's designed for.
But surprisingly, it didn't hit my car. Like it was just parked in a way, and some of the rocks that were coming down were not very tiny. And then to actually recreate the rock slide, we almost had to pile rocks up to do it. Because we were there for at least 5 minutes throwing rocks down the hill. So whatever was up on the hill had time to do that if it needed to.
Well, or had it pre-done, case.
Or yeah, pre-done. Just as like kind of like a Home Alone kind of a scenario.
Yeah.
Or you don't know that the one down at the bottom wasn't the dumb one that does the stupid things that they hate to keep saving him because it's like, oh, he did it again. Harold, why are you there in that spot?
That idiot. Oh man.
Yeah, I've got two questions on the rock thing. One of them is, did you guys ever throw rocks back? And do you get most of the rock throwing at night versus during the day?
The rock throws happened any and every time. There wasn't any limit. Daytime, nighttime. I always tried to throw rocks back because eventually your temper gets away with you. And for a while
Yep.
we were using a boomerang. No, slingshot.
Slingshot.
Yeah, we had a one of those giant takes 3 people to operate slingshot.
What?
There's probably 6 feet long and with handles on the big right. So it takes one person to be each anchor, and then one person to pull it back, and it would pull back like 5-6 feet. And we had what we call rock wars, and yeah, and they would respond.
Mhm.
We could elicit rock throwing response from that, or if they would start throwing rocks, then we would start launching the giant slingshot. And even with that thing, we could not get anywhere near the distance or the height that
Wow.
that these things came in.
The arc was
incredible.
You guys just gave me an idea. So I made a potato gun a while back. I might just start taking that up to Bluff Creek and shooting potatoes off ridges for Bigfoot and see what happens.
Yeah, we even tried. One of our members is an avid golfer, and he would take golf balls in there and hit them up there. And those dang things would end up being like put in crooks of trees and stuff on purpose, like a kind of a little mocking activity.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
It's like telling him he's a lousy golfer.
He was a lousy golfer.
You're a
Four
lousy golfer.
lousy golfer.
Hey, over
No.
at Twin Lake, we had an interesting rock thing. I take my flute when I go out, so I was kicking back. I record it because I like the echo. So I was recording it, but before I started playing, I just play really loud. Just I like the way it echoes off the lakes and you hear it off the trees and stuff. And Bobo was by his pickup truck, and at Twin Lake, there's that road that goes to the campsite. It's not very steep on the left side. It's not steep enough to roll anything down. So I did a few loud blows on my flute, and then I hear Bobo going off. I go, what's he doing? He doesn't like my music. And then I still hear him talking, so I keep playing. And then I finally have to go over to see what's going on. So I go over there. He says something just threw a rock at me. It landed behind me and rolled down the hill. And then you look up there and you look at the hillside. It's not steep enough for anything to roll down it. So something had to help it. And that little rock, we never found it because there's a bunch of other rocks down below it, down towards the lake. But that was all from playing music and having it thrown back. I guess I never had rock throwing when I'm playing nice music. Guess what? Just screaming through my flute. It kind of noise things, I guess. But yeah.
Hey, you shut up. I actually think that years and years and years ago, I had a group of hunters report that they had this strange encounter where this deer came into their camp just huffing and puffing and just all sweaty and shaking, and it kept looking behind it, and all of a sudden that camp got besieged with rock throws. And they were like, what is going on? And it was pretty clear whatever was throwing the rocks was trying to make the deer leave the company of the camp. And the deer wouldn't leave. It was like, no, whatever's out there is worse off than these humans with guns. So I'm going to hang here. And I've always wondered if that isn't a hunting tactic of theirs, that they can so good of throwers that they could maybe hit a deer from a distance and, get it on the ground. And then maybe that's how they, get that meat is they, I don't know. I've always wondered about that.
They have to be. It's like, I think we all know they use their hands while we do knock sounds. And I think in some areas where you can't find a good stick to hit against a tree to do a wood knock, I think they'll take some rocks and just lug it out of a tree stump or, the base of a tree to get a good knock sound. So they have to be accurate, I would think. So I don't know.
Yeah, I dug up the old archives of Bart Catino's therm sighting in the Sierras and going over the footage. That's another book I'm working on of that investigation that I did with Bart. And just going through the process of trying to heat up objects to see how they fly through the air and watching the videos. And you get to thinking there's 3, maybe 4 individuals around this campsite that are huge, and they're throwing rocks, heated objects that fly like rocks. Mm-hmm. And you got to ask that question: why? What are they doing with those rocks? Because like one dropped one, and then another one threw a rock towards it, and the deer got close to the campsite, and so something's walking around carrying rocks. So it goes back to the same idea: is that's a migratory route for deer during that time period for the California mule deer. They go into lower elevations, and that part of the Sierras gets snow pretty quick and gets cold. And big things that are over 7-8 foot tall are walking around with glowing objects that look and fly like rocks, and they're carrying them around with them. So I guess the question is hunting. There's deer. They're surrounding the site. They're looking for deer. Although Shmeha was in a cot sleeping, I don't know if they were meant for him, but it makes you wonder when you start putting pieces of the puzzle together and why. So you got these things that are 8-7 foot tall, armed with rocks, and the rocks are nice and warm, which means they're carrying them with them. And it makes you wonder.
What you said killed me. If they were meant for him. Oh, sorry.
You never know.
I digress.
No, that would be justified, though.
Oh, you guys are mean.
Now, I didn't say even if it hit him in the head, it wouldn't hurt him. I didn't say that.
Oh man,
I didn't say that.
he did
No,
not
yeah.
say that.
And we didn't hear that either.
Nope, I didn't hear it.
So the rocks are fascinating tools. They're multi-use. They can be hit. They can clack together. They can be thrown against logs to make sounds. They can hunt with them. They can annoy people with them. Sounds like a nice little weapon there.
Well, you use what you have.
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
You don't agree with that?
No, I do. I would agree with
Oh,
that.
okay. I was going to say, how can you not agree with that?
No, I 100% support that theory.
Yeah, if you have a car, you can hunt with your car, right? You have
All you need-
a bat, you can hunt with a bat. You can hunt with a rock. You can hunt with your bare hands. But it's always easier to use tools.
Oh yeah, for sure. I could hunt with a glass bottle.
Yeah, but you have to have that knowledge, tool making. That's what sets humans apart from other species.
This is
That
true.
and use of fire.
I need to sharpen up my skills on making tools in the forest,
And
as-
fires.
and well, yeah, that too. You can't just pour
Mhm.
gasoline on every fire because gasoline's not readily available everywhere.
Right. And you can't sit next to it and you throw the match either. So that's something else to think about.
Why? That's
Well,
what
you
I
don't-
always. That's
You
what I
don't get
always
matches. You have to do it naturally.
do. Oh, by a lighter.
No, can't use a
Okay.
lighter either.
Ah,
You got to cause friction some other way.
Challenge.
Do a couple sticks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can't park your car next to the fire and let your tires run. That doesn't
No.
work either. Hey, do you guys have any advice for other people who want to go out and do some research?
Study science. Do everything the scientific way. Don't take pictures if you don't have a scale in it. Write down what you did that day, times. Be precise on what exactly happened, because even though you will, I'll never forget that, you will forget that. So keep a journal, have a camera, have a scale, and learn what's native to your location. So don't fall for a bear print as being a Bigfoot because you don't know what a bear print looks like.
Yeah. I hear a lot of that story.
Be
Yeah.
educated.
Yep.
Because like on the internet, you get a lot of people, like there's a whole new generation, like 10 years ago, never heard of anything. And then all of a sudden, here we are. They're armchair warriors. They're experts. They watch all the cool shows like, Expedition Bigfoot and Finding Bigfoot and all the National Geographic series. And now they become experts, and then they go out to the field, and then they use these techniques they watch on television, and they wonder why things don't work out so well.
Yeah, like it's perfectly worded. They're armchair researchers and keyboard warriors.
Well, we've all started somewhere. We've all started by reading books and watching TV and digging up information. And, I'd love to twist the ear of the old timers around a campfire when they feel comfortable. Bob Gimlin's great for that. All the stories, you get to find out how it was and how they stumbled upon them, why are they still pursuing it to this day? And I just think I find it pretty fascinating. And I know you guys do too, because you guys are living the dream right now.
Well, I mean, we're doing the best that we can. And, we try and follow the scientific method and things that we do. And we definitely record everything. Document everything that we do. We have so much information that it's just overwhelming. We don't have a specimen. And it's not that's all. We don't just go out trying to obtain a specimen. We do so much more than that. But it's going to take a specimen to prove it. So to share all the mountains of, we have 2 audio recorders, been out there for years, record 24/7, 365 days a year. And we have just so much audio, so many photos to go through. And we have gone through all the photos. And just so many other tactics that have been tried. We don't share them with the public because there's really no point. There's always somebody gonna say, no matter what, they're gonna go, oh, you were hoaxed, or you're an idiot, or you're a liar. And none of those push the ball forward. None of them do. The only thing that's going to push the ball forward is a specimen. And that is what you'll hear from us when that happens. And so just because we don't do like a podcast, we have a podcast, but it's very rare that they put it out. But we're concentrating on other things. And, that's not our emphasis. We want to conserve the species and we want to conserve the habitat. And for anybody who might say, oh, let's say a believer who goes, oh, leave them alone, they're doing just fine on their own. Well, you know what? You don't know that. You don't know they're doing just fine on their own. If you go on a government website called Lost of Open Space, you can Google that. It's a real website on the government. U.S. government has one, Lost of Open Space, in the United States is losing more than 5,000 acres per day of loss of open space. And that is defined as not only being developed, but also through fragmentation of habitat. Somebody puts in, a 4-lane highway or whatever, and you had 10,000 acres and the highway goes through the middle of it. That's causing some fragmentation of the habitat, and it's dwindling. And it's astounding at the rate that we are losing open space. And before long, we'll have very little viable habitat. And maybe the reason that Area X is so prolific is because of the fragmentation. And not only fragmentation of their open space, but also loss of their habitat. And for instance, let's say in the Ouachita Mountains in southern Oklahoma, native hardwood forests, nut-bearing trees, hickory, acorns, all kinds of nut-bearing trees, hardwoods, being clear-cut, have been for years and generations, clear-cut and replanted with fast-growing pine trees for paper production. So now there's still, people might say, oh, there's still a forest there. It's not the same forest. It doesn't sustain the same type of animals that depend on the hardwoods and the nuts and everything else that goes along with that. So they're losing resources. The habitat is losing resources. And that's just the way it is. And so, we may in fact have populations of these animals being isolated from other ones. And occasionally you'll get reports of one being out in the open, or in a prairie situation, or they had to follow a creek or a river for miles and end up somewhere. You can't say that they're doing fine. You can't say that. So, before we can attempt to conserve their habitat, we have to prove the species as real. And if somebody will say, oh, well, yeah, that's murder. Well, guess what? Sitting by and watching something starve to death is equally as bad. Okay. So I let nature take its course. Okay, so the whole population of this group starves, and get and die off through lack of procreation or whatever it is that they need, or dwindling resources. That also, if you do that and consciously do that, that's murder. Okay. So, we're passionate about these animals. We want to preserve them. So for somebody to say, oh, you guys are bloodthirsty and you're looking out for fame and fortune. No, there's no fame. There's no fortune involved in this at all. It's not. I mean, Bob Gimlin, you think Bob Gimlin is famous? He's a pariah amongst many, except for the group of Bigfooters. He is a small group that consider him to be, very admirable for what he did. And people are still calling him a liar.
Yeah.
So
he ain't rich either.
No, certainly not. Not from that. So, all we can do is what we can do. So, to echo what Kathy said about researchers, if you're going to go out and going to actually try to have an experience to try and document these animals, do it the right way. Be prepared. Have scale items. Educate yourself. Measure the footprints, the length, the step length, the stride length. Measure at the ball of the foot, at the heel of the foot. Take photos from different angles. Have casting material available. Have evidence collection stuff available for you. Don't touch it. Don't contaminate it. Put it in a paper bag, and or whatever it takes to preserve that evidence, and then get it to a reputable person or reputable group that will try to actually do something with it other than make themselves famous for it.
Right.
That is well said. That's well said. Yeah, that's just that's conservation. That's it to a T. Audubon used to shoot the birds, and he'd draw them, and he led the conservation movement. Hunters are the biggest ones who save the habitat because they like having that opportunity to do that. So hunters are big time conservationists, but a lot of times people don't understand that. And the diversity of an environment, you can't plant a monoculture and expect to have the same diversity that you would have before. Prior to that, we had mixed woodlands with food sources and clean water and other habitat animals to become prey and prey items. So you're absolutely right. Well said.
Thank you, Robert.
You're welcome. You deserve it. You're a guy who knows a lot, who spent time in the woods, and has a different perspective to it. A lot of the people you run into don't spend a lot of time in the woods. They don't quite understand that concept. They know what they know based on what they read or what they watch on television. So people need to hear more and more. In order to protect the species, sometimes you have to have a sample to protect. So it's hard to swallow sometimes, but that's kind of how it is. And the last thing, Kathy, is there anything you want to add or you want to say?
No, I think he said it for the both of us.
He's a keeper.
Yes, he is.
Well, you guys, Tate, anything else you wanted to ask or any of that nature?
Oh no,
You yourself and I, all three of you.
No, I was listening and I got to ask a lot of cool questions. So I'm glad Kathy and Bob were able to take some time out of their schedule to sit down and have a chat with us.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
Thank you for inviting us.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a pleasure speaking with both you gentlemen. You are, true inspirations to the field of Bigfoot research. You both do very good work.
You're so
And,
nice.
and I'm proud to know you both, and we're proud to call you our friends.
Oh,
So
likewise.
thank you. Yes, thank you.
Well, thanks for being our guest too. I appreciate it. And I'll have to stop being such a stranger. I now have your phone number. I'll try not to lose it and call more often. I enjoy my conversations with you guys.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, you too, Robert.
All All right.
And you too, Tate. Call us anytime. We're here.
We'll do.
Okay.
All right. Well, until next week, everybody, we're the Bluff Creek Project Podcast.